incredible afternoon. Almost, I don't know, I don't know if I said almost said evening or morning, but it is definitely incredible afternoon. Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? Okay, are you gonna do that weird thingy where you just keep auto focusing? Sorry, I'm talking about my phone. I have my phone positioned, and I think it is going to do that foolishness where it keeps auto focusing. Um, but hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. All right, so let's, excuse me. I am streaming to several platforms right now. So just give me a moment. I need to change some things up on some of these. I have to change my audience, and I also have to add a tag to here. All right, so oh my gosh, come on, don't do that. I don't know why this wants to autofocus. I don't know if I can change it either. If I can keep it from autofocusing. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Now, yeah, I don't know, guys, if it's going to, you may have to, if you're watching over on TikTok right now, you may have to head over to Facebook or YouTube, preferably YouTube, because I don't think it's going to stop that autofocus thing. So we'll see. Look, I don't even feel like trying to write a whole caption. Look, by this point, if you don't know that I use the at everyone in my groups, I don't know what to tell you, but I use at everyone in my groups. I don't, don't try to take advantage of it, but I do use it, especially for lives that I know include questions that are common questions that people have, especially when it comes to designing and t-shirts. So I'm just going to hit at everyone because I need to hurry up and not say hurry up and get this done, but yeah, I didn't think about what caption I was going to write for those. So yeah, we're just going to hit at everyone. All right, so let's get this. And if you guys could go ahead, hit that share button as well, that would be greatly appreciated. And make sure you guys tap the screen over on TikTok. All right, so we're going to get into this. I am Shakia. Yes, I know all you can see is my banner. But I am Shakia, the professor of HSINK365. We are a company that carries sublimation ink, sublimation paper, pigment ink, and some other accessories. Our sublimation paper is top tier. You can sublimate as low as 365 degrees, as fast as 30 seconds. Our sublimation ink, it is standard 140 milliliters, so you're going to get more bang for your buck. And we have a black ink that is like no other. It is not that like rusty brown. We really worked on the formula for that. So definitely check out our website, shop.hsink365.com. But I am also your resident silhouette studio instructor. I've been teaching this for 8 years. I absolutely love the program. It is free to use. You don't need a Cameo machine or a portrait machine or Curio or Alpha machine or Mint to actually download and use the software. I'm going to show you guys that because if you are going to enroll in any of our design classes, you will need that one. At a minimum, you'll need Silhouette Studio. So I will go on and show you guys how to download and install that in this particular video. We are also the home of 365 Creative Academy, where we help you to unlock your creativity in a wide variety of classes, such as designing, whether it's in Silhouette Studio, Photoshop. We do foundational classes, as well as specific things such as like graduation, memorial, for party favors and things like that. So definitely check that out as well. All right. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about designing for shirts. And it really can be for anything, but I decided to do shirts. I know that's like a really big trending thing right now. And that's one of the first things people kind of get into making when they start thinking about like designing or starting like a creative type business. Okay. Um, and this is going to feature something that one of our students worked on. I love students who they get into the lessons, they're taking notes, and they are applying it. Whether it is the final design or not, it is important that you guys get into your programs of choice and start designing. Okay. So she says, the dean. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into, we're going to start over here in Silhouette Studio. All right. Actually, before we even start here, let's go over to the internet and let's talk about where to get these softwares from. Okay. So here, we're going to come back to this site. There's some great information and some things here that you need to go ahead and enroll in. But I'm going to go ahead and start a new page here. And we're going to go www.silhouetteamerica. So you're going to go to silhouetteamerica.com. If you just search Silhouette Studio, some other sites might come up, but you want to search again, silhouetteamerica.com or go to silhouetteamerica.com. Okay. This is where you're going to get the Silhouette Studio software. Now, of course, there are machines and things there. That one that's on the screen, it's not recommended at all. You know, it's by me, you know, for me personally, and when you guys are asking me, I'm not an advocate for the Pro, the regular 12-inch, 15-inch, which is the Plus. Yes, the Pro, I'm definitely not an advocate for. You know, I prefer not to even answer questions about the Pro. But here on the site, you're going to go to software and you're going to go to get software. When you're on this screen, it's going to default, if you just hit download, to whatever the current version is. The quality of your computer plays a large role in which version you can actually download. Okay. Even though I have a gaming computer, I still have some issues when it comes to 4.5, and it may not be major issues to others, but because I utilize pretty much every single tool function within Silhouette Studio, as it relates to like designing or using my cameos, not anything that's for like curios and things like that. There were certain things that just were not available for me. And then when it came to like dealing with PDFs, it was a big thing. And because I have a Roland and I design here and then save it as a PDF to be able to take it over to, VersaWorks, I couldn't work in 4.5 on my current one because I do too much designing on here. But for some people, they say that it works. Okay. I have no idea who you are or what you're referring to, Rick, but okay. So anywho, the 4.5 version, a lot of people say they end up having issues with that particular version. And they're always asking about, how do I go back down to like 4.3? There are things that are in 4.5 and, you know, they release things like starting in 4.4. But for me, 4.5 just does not work. Okay. I know what OS means, sir. Okay. But we're going to go to where it says learn more, right? Once you go to learn more, you're going to click on download legacy version. And you're going to scroll down to the 4.3.370. I find that this is the most stable version of the 4 series that there is. A lot of the 4.4s, man, it was so many glitches in those. It was just absolutely bonkers. So I do, like I said, I find that 4.3.370 is the most stable, where you don't get a lot of crashes with it. You still have to be mindful of, like, how much graphics you're putting in there, but it doesn't glitch as much as the other ones. There are some things in it, like when you lock the aspect ratio, you can't go past 19.635, or 638. I think I'm stuck on 365, but it's somewhere in there. So it has, some things, but it is the most stable. Okay. And I recommend, no matter what, if you have a Windows, even if your computer says it's 64, the 32-bit, just in how it works, tends to also help with the stability of it on your software. Okay. So I recommend 4.3.370 and doing the 32-bit version. So you would click on that. Oh, well, I didn't mean to download it. Cancel. So you'll click on that to download it. So that's how you'll get the free version of Silhouette Studio. You can upgrade to Designer Edition or Business Edition. I always say bypass Designer Plus because it really serves no purpose, unless like you're just into like opening up embroidery files. Designer Plus. The majority of the features are released in at least Designer. So you can open up like SVGs, and you get things like the center of rotation. Oh gosh, it's some other ones there, rulers and guidelines and things like that. But the Business Edition gives you the options to, like, if you have machines, the main feature of it was to be able to run more than one machine at a time. You can save in a wide variety of formats, such as PNG, JPEG, SVG, and Silhouette Studio. So it just gives you a lot more options when it comes to Business Edition. Those are one-time fees. So you pay for it one time and then it's yours. So it's not something that you have to pay for monthly to get access to those additional features, right? So that's the Silhouette Studio side. It is great if you want to get into designing and having a little bit more control over your designing, and to be able to do that for free. It is a great software to start with. I am not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. I'm not affiliated with them. I came across this whole system when I needed a new cut system, because I used to have the old school Cricut with the cartridges, but I used to use shortcuts a lot. And I came across this system. And back then I was just doing my party decor and party favors and things like that. And over time, it's grown to where I have started doing, like, shirts and mugs and cups and keychains and memorial stuff. Like, it's just so much that I've been able to do with Silhouette Studio that I started sharing this years ago, the power of this software. I personally still use version 3.6 on my laptop because I really think that version 3 cannot be topped. I just wish it did have things like being able to save as a JPEG or PNG or things like that. You can still save as an SVG. There's a little workaround for that, but as a PNG, PDF, and JPEG, I always have to come to version 4. All right, but it is an amazing system to start with for designing, because you have so many options and so many things that you can do. You can bring in JPEG files and PNG files, and you can manipulate them. You can do your text, like you can add text, you can create text effects, with the free version, using things like offsets and colors, and you have subtract and weld and crop, some of the same features and tools that are found in more commercialized, robust graphic designing software. So it's a go-to. Like, it's a no-brainer for me if you are new and you're not quite ready to pay for other softwares. There are things like Affinity, and yes, that is a one-time fee. I think their new one might be a subscription base, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not sure, because I know they have like an Affinity 2.0 or Affinity 2 and something like that. But originally it was a one-time payment. Now, one of my go-tos alongside CorelDRAW is the Adobe system. Adobe Illustrator is something that I use. It's a vector software just like Silhouette Studio. Photoshop is not vector. It is a bitmap. So it's like, it's where you'll rasterize images. You can do things like have faded bottoms and things that are like feathered. And it's just the way that it's made. Like you can have highlights and blurs and things like that in Photoshop. Well, you can do, there's blurs in Illustrator as well, but not in Silhouette Studio. But it's a different type of software because when you're designing, it's basically done with like pixels compared to a vector software where once you fill it with color, you can save it as a vector and it's really unlimited. Well, we're talking about Silhouette Studio and Photoshop right now, okay? That's what we teach on this particular platform. So with Photoshop, it is not, there's a way to get the suite where you can get Illustrator and Muse and all the other softwares that Adobe offers. But I find that in our community of creative entrepreneurs who do things like t-shirts, whether it's like, t-shirts, eco-solvent prints, DTF, tumblers, mugs, keychains, memorials, obituaries. I'm trying to think what else, like party favors, stickers, flyers, posters, banners, backdrops, right? Anywho, I find that most gravitate towards Photoshop when they're thinking about those different things because of the blend modes and stuff. Now, when you're creating logos and certain types of designs, Illustrator is going to be the better one because it is a vector-based software, as I just mentioned. But Photoshop is one where people they automatically think that that's like the go-to for graphic design. Like that's what people think of. Now, for me personally, Photoshop is a photo editing. Like I go in there to edit photos and, the term photoshopping when you're changing things up, switching out colors and stuff like that. Like that's what Photoshop was always for me. But I have, I still dabble a little bit with creating certain designs in there because of the layer styles and the blend modes and the ease of it, especially when they added the artboards to it. So you don't have to get the suite. You can get just Photoshop by itself, right? It's back in the day, you basically be able to get it for just buy it flat out. Now, when you do the subscription, whenever they do updates, you have the latest version of it, but it is a monthly fee. So for some, that is, even at $10, that can be a bit of a overwhelming commitment to have to pay that to continue to design. If you have to use it a little bit here and then turn it off, and then, if you have to go through waves, hey, by all means do that. But you can always do the free trial or at least try it for a month to see if it is something that's going to work for your design needs, if it has features that aren't available to you in Silhouette Studio. But with Silhouette Studio, there are a lot of workarounds. It's just that you can't do everything within the software, but you can bring in a lot of images, especially PNGs, and you have the option to change colors and things like that. So it's a lot that you can do in Silhouette Studio. I often get asked, which ones do you need, right? Well, which Photoshop? There's really only one Photoshop. The difference between the different price points, if you get the creative suite, of course, because you're getting access to all of them, it's going to cost more. But when you're here just looking at Photoshop, forget Lightroom, just these two, $9.99 versus $19.99. If you scroll down, you're going to see that on each line, there's a dot there because they are essentially the exact same thing. There is only one Photoshop. Now, Photoshop Elements is something that is different, but Photoshop is just Photoshop. The difference between the $9.99 plan and the $19.99 plan is simply your cloud storage. That's it. If you have a really decent hard drive, or if you have Google Drive or OneDrive or Dropbox or WD My Cloud, those are all the things that I use. Actually, I dropped Dropbox, but I have a Google Drive, I have a WD My Cloud, and I do have my OneDrive. So if you have those for storage, you don't necessarily have to have the 1 terabyte of cloud storage from Adobe. That is the only difference between the price. You're paying an additional $10 to have 1 terabyte of cloud storage versus 20 gigs. So I get that question so often, like, which is the best Photoshop to get? They are the same. And it will say photography because it is mainly used by a lot of photographers for photo editing and color correction and things like that. So it says photography plan versus like a graphic design like type plan. All right. So hopefully that clears that up. You can do the $9.99 plan. All right. So these don't apply to business versions. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean. What applies to business versions? Can you clarify that for me? Shirts by Banks. Any program that allows you to print, you can print from. I've printed from Silhouette Studio and Photoshop and Illustrator, and the settings that I use, they pretty much come out the same if the image is like exactly the same. I wish I could show you guys that, but my camera, I had to disconnect for some stuff, so I don't have my actual like camera on, but I've printed from all of them and get the same results. Okay. I like using CorelDRAW with Silhouette Studio. Yeah, CorelDRAW is one of my go-tos. It's one that I learned years ago. I don't teach CorelDRAW because it's been a while since I really played in it, but I do love CorelDRAW. I went back to it only because it is the software that you need for the Rhinestone World's Rhinestone Wizard. That's one of the only reasons why I went back to CorelDRAW. But I used to use it so much years and years ago. I don't really care for Inkscape. It just doesn't work for me and how I like to design and like how the tools and things are. I don't like the interface of it, so it doesn't work for me. Some people live by it. They love it because it is also a vector-based program like Illustrator and Silhouette Studio. And it's free, but for my needs and what I like to do and just how it's set up, it just doesn't work for me. That's just like Affinity. Some people love Affinity. It just doesn't work for me. And it may just because I'm a creature of habit. So yeah, it's kind of like the Coke, Pepsi, the Superior Galaxy to, that iPhone thing. It's kind of like that. Okay, so that's what you need for that. So again, go to Adobe and, just search Photoshop and you can do just the $9.99 plan. And then for Silhouette Studio, it's 4.3.370 is the one that I recommend. When you do that, it is going to be just the free version. And then you have to go and purchase the upgrade. We do have an affiliate link with Swing Design if you would like to. It's normally priced much cheaper than it is on Silhouette America's website if you go over to Swing Design. And you can always go to our website and click where it says Silhouette Studio Business Edition, and it will take you over to Swing Design to purchase that. And it's a one-time fee. So you'll save basically 50%. It's $49.99 over here versus the regular cost of $99.99 if you want Business Edition. If you want Designer Edition, once you're on here, just click on it, go to Software, go to Instant Code, and then you can scroll to the one that's just Designer, and that is $24.99. All right. So those are the two that I would recommend. If you already have Designer and you want to go to Business, do not purchase this one. Make sure that you get the Designer to Business Edition upgrade. So you've already paid $25. You're going to pay $25 here and that's to give you the rest of the features. I often get that question as well because they'll purchase this and then it tells them that like I guess it won't let you put that one in because you have the designer. You have to deactivate that one, and it's a whole lot of. If you started with designer and you want to upgrade, go from designer to business. Okay, so that's everything as far as softwares. These are the two softwares that Shakia the professor teaches from. And just more so recently, like the Photoshop. I've used Photoshop for years, and I know that some of you guys love my teaching style. So we are getting into teaching from Photoshop. It's just still not my go-to for designs. I still start my designs most times in Silhouette Studio because there's things that's just easier to maneuver in Silhouette Studio compared to Photoshop. But let's go over to Silhouette Studio now, okay? So I have a student who is now in my foundations. She can't get enough of me. She's now in the foundations of designing program. It's our officially like 7 week is 7 sessions, but I'm always each week I'll do a bonus session, which is not pre-scheduled, and it's on random things and like when I'm working on design. So we'll kind of have a few of those here and there. But from day 2, we worked on text designs. And I love a student who gets in there. And one of the things I tell my students is the best way to learn to design is just to go on and start to create something. It does not have to be perfect. What that does is and also don't try it like certain design things if you have an order, because that stress of the time constraints and the deadline of that order can make it overwhelming, and you'll get very frustrated when you're trying to do something new and it's for an order and you only have a short amount of time. One of the best ways to just hone in on your design skills and really unlock your creativity is just to sit there when it's not for anyone. It's just for you to practice. You have to practice. You have to build a relationship with the software that you choose to use in order to get a better understanding of it and really, really understand all those tools and functions. If you do something once, keep that version, but open up a new window and try that exact same design again and again and again. And each time you should become faster with it. You should have a better understanding of exactly what you did. And then you can, move on. So I always encourage them just create something. It doesn't have to be for something that you're actually going to use, whether it's for yourself or for an order. One of the things that was so funny to me when I opened this up, not sure if you guys can tell. Well, hold on. Let me move this over for you. Um, there's a little white box right here, right? That's actually the design page. I design all over the place, and it's normally like way off yonder. If I go and put my box around this thing is 39 by 72. Which, unless you're designing like a really big poster, it's not going to work for that. But my students now always say to design bigger, as long as you have it in the right proportions, and then you can bring it back down. But when I opened it up and I'm like, whoa, she's so far away from the design page, it's crazy. So one of the things that you can do when this happens and you want it to be closer to the design page, just select everything and group it. And then right here at the top, it is an icon. If you hover over it, it says center to page. So you're going to click on that and it's going to bring it down closer to the design page. And then the one right above that with the box and the cross in it, if you click on that, it's going to bring it back into that design page. So if you've ever you've opened like, when the heck is my design? You probably should zoom out to see exactly where it is. Okay. Let me go and check something real quick here. Hold on. 1 second. I need to check something. Is it blurry for anyone else? I don't know. I mean, I'm not getting the notification that it is blurry. Yeah, on my side, it don't show it blurry on Facebook. So maybe go out and come back in. All right, so that's how you'll bring that back in, and then you can always shrink it down. But here's one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I actually got her permission. I told her, I was like, do you mind if I use it just to talk about layout and composition and sizing? Okay. And then when it comes to selecting elements, so I love the fact that I felt like she was thinking about me because our catchphrase is ink credible. We do use a C though, so I can kind of keep ink by itself and credible and how it reads. And you're gonna see on the next one how little things like that and how you design certain things or how you word or like if you're gonna kind of do play on words and do designs like that, depending on how you set it up you may have to make certain adjustments. So when it is read all together in, so you're looking at IN and then credible. So that does say it and you're making the C. So like, my nickname, Kiki, I used to put K's on everything. So if it was creations with the K, and cake was with the K. So this would be like one of those things where it says incredible, but with a K because they technically make the same sound, right? But for us, it's ink credible because we want to put the emphasis on the ink because of HS ink, right? So there's a couple of reasons why this design stood out to me was for things like that. When you are doing a play on words, depending on like if you want to stack it or you want to create a longer design and things like that, you then can't split it up because it won't read the same way. So you have to go into your design somewhat thinking about how you want it to be displayed or how you want it to be read. Do you think you'll ever have it where it's broken up, especially when it comes to like your logos and things like that? And then also one of the things that we're going to talk about in tonight's class is what is the focus of your design? What is the part that's the most important? What should stand out, especially when you're trying to send a message? Okay. So for me, when it came to this design, the word should be the focal, but then this embellishment is really, really large and it's going too far off to, either side. So we want to take that, and if you had to use it, you want to shrink that down so that it doesn't become the focal point and that doesn't become the part that someone's eye automatically gravitates towards. And also just being very strategic about what you choose. How does it fit into the design? These are things that you should be asking yourself as you're creating these designs. What would be the purpose of this embellishment, this element? How does it complement the design? Does it take away from the design? It may seem like a lot, and I know most of you just want to kind of open up a software. You feel like it should automatically come to you. Like, I'm a creative person. I do crafts. Like, this shouldn't be that complicated. You don't want to think about asking yourself all these questions. You don't want to draw anything or write anything down beforehand. But that's how I design. I have sketchbooks on top of sketchbooks from when, especially when I was doing event planning, and I would plan out layouts for tables and rooms. My balloon decor used to sit there and draw balloons out and color them in, so I know like I know the color combination and I know how it's going to swirl and stuff like that. Like these are things that I was constantly doing, and when I really got into graphic designing, it did not change. I would draw things out. I would sketch things out. Man, I forgot to pull the picture on my phone because someone had posted a picture in one of the groups, and it was from someone's TikTok, and she showed a design that she kind of like just sketched out, and then she showed the final one once she really applied like all of the different effects. And for most designers, that's how it starts. It's going to start from either a sketch that you do for pen and paper or pencil and paper, or if you're going to do it digitally on like Procreate or something like that, like you just kind of just get a general idea. That's something that I feel like is key to really just understanding design, just getting an idea of how you want it to be laid out and thinking about the different arrangements of it. I don't know how to draw. So you don't have to know how to draw to be a graphic designer. There's so many different layers to what a graphic designer is. There's a lot of them that don't know how to draw. An artist is different from a graphics designer. Now, if you are somebody that's able to draw, to create your own images, your own characters, and things like that, that's a great skill to have. If you understand shading and shadows and highlights, also very, very great skill to have. And it's something that you can really learn. But to be able to do to put designs together and be able to effectively combine text and select the right text, combining it with JPEGs or PNGs or even SVGs in a creative way does not require you to know how to draw in any way, shape, or form. So if that word graphic designer intimidates you because you feel like you're not an artist and you don't know how to draw, I want you guys to eliminate that from your, just take that out of your thought process, because you don't have to know how to draw to be able to put designs together creatively that's going to be really eye-catching. All right, so for me, this right here doesn't quite make sense in this design, so we're going to kind of pull it down. But before I do, even if this was an element that matches, we want to also think about color and the balance of colors. And although, I saw what she did there with sampling a color that was in the design, it's not balanced with everything else. It is okay to, this was supposed to stand out because I like with our logo, we have ink in cyan, magenta, and yellow, and then our outline is black. So it's meant to stand out. So that does make sense for that. But when it comes to other elements, if you're not going to put elements like additional elements to bring out those colors or complement those, it makes, when you have just the one embellishment, it makes it stand out, and it could be in like a not so great way in how it stands out, because now there's no balance of color. Okay. So for me, this is going to come down for right now. The next thing is really thinking about how it's laid out. How do you want it to be on your shirt? And since this one, we preface it as spacing and sizing for t-shirt designs, I took this design and I arranged it in a couple different ways. My students will tell you, especially when it comes to the text, which tonight is a text-based day in the Foundations of Designing program. That session is live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is 7 dedicated sessions with some bonus things here and there. If you want to enroll, the best value is the $250. That comes out to about what was it? Oh gosh. It is $250, yeah, for the different sessions, and that's a one-time. If you're going to do buy now, pay later, there is an option for that, but you can break that down to weekly payments if you want to have a not a large initial like payment. So you can go to our Academy site. The first payment up until tonight. After tonight, because once you go in there, you will have 2 weeks of content, because we started last week. The initial payment will go up because you have to account for the 2 weeks. So tonight is the last night to be able to sign up for just $30.65, and then you'll have your weekly payments. After tonight, that weekly payment will be added to it. So anyone that signs up via like the weekly payment option, you're going to pay, Lord Jesus, hold on, let me just pull that up, pull that over here. It is, I actually forget what hold on, I actually forgot what it was that quick. And I just closed it out. Wow. All righty, let's open that up again. I just closed that out. Um, oh, it's not popping up for some reason. If you go straight to the Academy site, it's actually not showing up. So let me go over here and make sure that it's not hidden because I'm not sure why it's hidden. Glad I did come over here because for some reason yeah, big old eyeball right there. It is definitely hidden. Like you can access it through like straight through the links, but it is hidden on here. So let me just go ahead and save that. Um, All right. So it is right now 3065, and then it will be the 2365 after that. So the initial payment will be 5430 after tonight. Now, although we only have 7 sessions, because I am breaking it up where you can do smaller weekly payments, you are going to pay for this over the course of really 12 weeks. So it's not 2365 per session. It is 2365 per week, but we meet every 2 weeks. That gives you guys time to work on the things that we've kind of gone over in the session as well as the bonus sessions. Okay. So tonight is the lowest that you can enroll for is tonight, unless you do like the full payment. All right. Let's get back over here to this. One of the things that we're going to go over tonight is talking about focal points and what is the message in it and what is the focal point. For me, looking at this, something like this, right? I loved it. It's very, I think it's an impactful statement because, we've strived to be incredible around here. So make today so incredible, yesterday gets jealous. I'm going to come over here and show you guys on the shirts. And let's turn my rulers back on. Hey, what happened here? What happened to my rulers? I don't know. Turn my rulers back on and bring my guidelines down. Okay, so I think it's going to change a little bit for you guys over here on TikTok. As you can see, these are all set up differently, and how you read them and the size of the text changes depending on how you have it set up. Okay. It is a good practice. I'm going to say best, but it's good practice to set your design up in different layouts. This is something I also do when I am creating logos, because you have to think about all the different ways someone may want to use a logo. But for the shirt design, this is exactly how it was set up the first time, just without the embellishment. So on a shirt, you see the spacing in between it, and the differences between like some of these is, oh wait, is this the same? Oh wait, I didn't need this one. These are the same. I don't know what happened to the third design that I actually had here, because these are the same. But how it reads, right? So if we go and not sure what's happening over here on TikTok, it's telling me it's unstable. Hopefully I'm back. But we're going to just kind of take a look at these two right here. And it's justified to the left. Now, it's not to say that that's a bad way to have it set up. But if I'm trying to really focus in on a certain message, I'm not going to say it's not balanced, but no part of it like really stands out. It's like it's just words. So if the intent was to have it be a strong message and have something stand out, we want to convey that in how we size for, like how we size up the design. And also think about how much of the surface do we want it to take up. Typically for me, when it comes to shirts, I don't go by the 11-inch, 10-inch, 9-inch, or any of that. Every shirt is different. And my goal for most designs that have words is to make sure that if you are looking at it from the front, you see all of the words without it curving around the sides, where you kind of have to lean your head. And, you've seen those designs. You kind of have to look and see what's there. Now, if it's something that's just graphics and is just visual, you can have an oversized design. But for words, I typically try to make sure that it is in the front. This is actually not a really good mock-up right now because it's actually going a little bit too far. So for me, when I'm doing designs, I typically go for the center of the shoulder blades, right? So kind of like somewhere around here. And actually, I wasn't that bad. It's actually, I can still tell it's a little bit off. So we're actually going to come probably to about here. Yeah, that's about good, right? Actually, I wasn't too bad on that one. But that's normally how I'm designing, to where it's a little bit past like the collar, and it doesn't look too small, because everyone's body type is different, whether or not they have a big bust or if it is not so, if it's a guy, it's kind of flat. So a lot of those things affect how a design looks. But for text, I normally teach to try and have that text be visible straight on. And that's normally how I size. Now, depending on how your design is set up, it can take up less real estate going vertically. With the way that this was kind of set up, it can only be so tall because there are longer words in here. So it can only be so big. If you want it, like let's say the word jealous, to be just as big as this one, then you're making it where it's going to curve around the side of the shirt. So how you initially lay it out will also determine the size and how it's going to look on a shirt. So on this one, all I did was one, yes, we typically design and we think to kind of have that first letter where it is an uppercase. But if we were to bring these two sections together, like this has a lot of spacing in the middle. So if you were to bring them closer together, because there's only one element right here that is, it's higher than the rest, you'll end up with a lot of negative space, and that can affect your design. So those are things that you want to look at. How does the top section interact with the bottom section, and how that's going to look if you closed up the spacing in between it? For me, make today so incredible is a focal point. Yesterday gets is one where I don't really, that can be a little bit smaller. But the message is we want to make yesterday jealous, so we can make that a little bit bigger. There are times where having designs justified to the left or right works really, really well. And then you can also center them. It's not saying that you always have to center anything. And then we're going to come over to this one. And what I did was pushed it up. I also decreased the size of the Y. I still wanted it to be an uppercase Y, but I did not want it to stand out over topple over the rest of them. So I sized it to where it was to the top of the D, so that once we closed in that space, it wasn't a lot of negative space. We've now evened out and we've balanced that space in between. And also, because we took the word jealous and we spread it out across that, it now stands out more and the design appears bigger. It still takes up the same amount of space from left to right. It print almost kind of takes up this. Well, actually, it's less space. To be honest, like with how this is set up, because this was spread out, it's actually taking up less space, which is why I brought the guidelines in. So you can see that this one is way down here. This one is, there's a little bit of space there. But which one stands out to you more, right? Which one appears to be the bigger design? Number one or number two? So I'll give you guys a minute to answer that. Looking at it, which one appears technically bigger and it's easier to read? One or two? So two, 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 okay, two. All right. And that's just, you don't have to change. I didn't change anything major on it. I just changed what became the focus. I changed the layout. I changed the sizing. But this really is smaller. It's going to take up less space. But because of how I did the letters, it appears larger. I forgot what did I do to this one? I forget, because this is the same one, but I think I may have deleted it because I'm not sure why that's there. Because I did delete some things off of here and make sure it's not behind it. No. Well, what did I do with this one? Okay, we're going to skip over this one. Move him out of the way and bring this one over. And I got to make sure that it aligns back up with the rest of them. Okay. Now, number three, as you can see, like it is closer together, right? It's definitely closer as far as spacing, the second line to the first line. But if you look at shirt one and where the top of this one is and where the bottom of this one is, they are about the same, right? It's taking up the same amount of space, but due to one change, it now looks different. Okay. And it is to encourage you guys to start turning things around, rotating them. Don't be afraid to put things even at an angle, right? It doesn't have to go to where you're turning it and it's going straight vertical. It's like a 90-degree turn. Get creative with where you position things, how you curve text and things like that. Just get very, very creative. Oh, she says that third one is Tony the Tiger. Great. And all we did with this one was split this up. And this is where I'm like, if you try different layouts and different orientations, it can help you see if you like, especially if you're doing logos and things like, if the change needs to be made. Now, breaking this up, and I left the elements in there, not that I like the embellishments. My goal in leaving those embellishments in there was to show making the colors balanced by adding all of the colors that are in here and putting them somewhere around it. But if you have just that one embellishment, that one element in that one color, and there's only like the majority of the design is this yellow and this blue, but we just put this color blue there, it just seems off. But now if you put the other colors that are part of this one that's separate from, like, different from everything else, it creates balance. So now if we turn this around, it's because the word ink goes together. Someone may read this as ink readable instead of ink credible. And this is what happens when, you don't forward think about your design and different ways of setting it up. And I can't really change this one because, I could use the D to make a C, but I'm not going to go through all that. But I didn't have the font, for this to go and then put a C there so that you can kind of see the difference. So with our phrase ink credible, that's one of the reasons why it is set up the way that I do have it, where it's ink, and then there is kind of like that double sound, because we still put credible so that it can read. Like if I wanted to turn it around, it still reads the same way. The other thing with this one is make today so, and that's justified to the left, and then yesterday gets is justified to the right, because if you had both of them justified to the left, this side now becomes a little bit heavy because of the colors. Like there's all these colors on this side, and this side will be void of those colors. All right. These are things that you must know when it comes to creating designs. My foundation of designing program is meant to teach you things like this, how to create effective designs from the start and how to think about them. Anyone can teach you how to take a picture. Okay, you're going to put this here. You're going to fade off the bottom. You're going to change this color. This is how you add layer effects or text effects. Anyone, you can learn that from anywhere. You can learn that from any YouTube video. But how to really think about your designs and how to create effective, eye-catching designs, to think about the composition, think about the layout, think about how it's going to be read. And if you notice on this one, I did not change the Y. I left that as a true uppercase. But because of the way everything else is laid out, I don't have this long area of negative space because I pushed it to one side. So how you arrange it and how you lay it out can really change the dynamic of a design. You know what? I think that's what that one was supposed to be, was spread out. I think that's, let me see. Is it? No, it's not over there. I think that's what I was supposed to do with this one, was spread it out. Hold on. And I thought it was the same one, and I didn't do it. So we're going to ungroup. And I think this is still the wrong one that I'm about to do. It's actually the other one, but I'll just do both. Oh, that is the one that's missing. Okay, let me just go over on this side because it's going to be easier to get this embellishment. Copy and then paste. This was supposed to break this up. I don't really care for this embellishment, but if you have a bigger space in the middle, breaking up the top and bottom, and I'm just going to make this one black for the sake of it being a neutral color. But what I want to do is this one right here. Oh, no. Ungroup. Okay. Group. And group. Okay, so this one right here, I'm just going to bring this whole design down over here, bring to the front, and just put it right underneath it. All right. So in here, with the amount, like the fact that it spans the whole length with the Y as an uppercase, right? You end up with a negative space in here that can be kind of like, I feel like something's kind of missing, right? But with this one, even though it's the same, because it's justified and you're not taking up as much space, because like that space is not as wide, it doesn't appear to be as much of a gap when it really is about the same amount of space in between it. And then in this area, you can have an embellishment here. Or there's creative things that you can do, like with the top one, um, and rearranging things, making certain letters longer. So now when you create negative space to make room for elongating certain letters, taking like the R and pulling it down, or even, although I probably would never do it that way, um, you could, we're going to group this because it's not going to necessarily read correctly. But if we did ink, we're going to bring this back in some to be the height of this, and we're going to move you. But you see how you can use top parts to fill in certain like negative spaces. Or you could have like left that and then the R comes out. And that's when you're really start like logos, making of really custom logos when you take a font and then you go and change it. Y'all know I'm notorious for using some edit points and changing up a font. But I just wanted to kind of highlight like different layouts, all from the same. So we created our base design, and now you can take that and make it in so many different combinations. And then with this one, if you had something like that embellishment, it is breaking up those two sections. So make today so incredible, yesterday gets jealous, and then you have that in the middle. It's a better placement than it being at the bottom and being really, really big. So hopefully you guys can see all of the different variations in this. Now, if you wanted this design to become more vertical, then you just take the elements and you have to figure out a way to break them up, or you have to choose a different font that's going to give you more height. Tonight, we are going to talk about font and different families of fonts, different styles of fonts, how to identify fonts based off of certain themes that you're trying to do, and really thinking about the design and which font you're going to choose. We're going to go over that tonight as well. But I thank you, my love, for allowing me to, and just being bold and brave and just loving and being confident in what you were able to accomplish. I love, y'all know I love me some offsets. So seeing the different offsets here, and it may seem like it's something very, very simplistic, but this is actually a certain technique to have this where you see a defined line around it, but also still have the drop shadowed effect. Okay, why won't you select? Okay. Nope, still, let's ungroup. So if you look on here, it's not like your typical eye. So there's a certain way that you kind of create that look. So where you have, like I said, you have an outline, a full-on outline around it, but you still have your shadow. Because when you do the shadow, it's just going to be below it. But if you want that color to still kind of come over the top or on the side. So I saw that. I was like, oh, look at her being all fancy and stuff. And the fact that you did it like you did it on both layers as well. And just that effect to kind of have that highlight. I felt like I really was a proud professor in looking at your design and just the text effects and stuff that you kind of created on there. I gotta move. That was me moving your stuff over, so I gotta kind of move it back. But I was very, very, very proud, my dear. But hopefully this kind of gives you guys an idea of when you're creating designs from scratch. Now, if it's something that was already created and you're just sizing it, my rule of thumb is one, it doesn't have to cover. Every design is not going to cover a full chest. Depending on which fonts you chose, it can be very, very wide, but be very, very short because it is not a long font. If some of your words are very, very wordy or have a lot of letters, that's going to change how large you can size it going horizontally. So just really think about the layout and how you want it to appear, especially if you're only designing for one thing. Um, what was the other thing I was going to say? But yeah, I go off center of chest for how I kind of put it on there where I want it to sit. And like I said, try kind of go off of the center of the shoulders for sizing horizontally. Unfortunately, that's not what this particular live is about. I do believe you maybe have sent me that. Post that in my group, but I'm not talking about heat presses right now. This is not a general Q&A. Any questions on two makes the message more meaningful as well, because you are making because you're creating those focal points and you're highlighting those important words. So yes, that is one of the things. That's one of the reasons why I switched how it looks. If it's one word, then how big would you make it? It depends on the font that you're using, right? Let's go ahead and so I'm going to just use the words that are here, right? And it also depends on the size. Let's go like this and group that, move this out of the way. Let's ungroup here. And we're going to come in here, group that, and move it, right? So these are technically the same exact font, right? Now you have to, what you're going to have to determine is what's more important to you, height or length, because these can be the same height, but because they are, one has less letters than the other, the length is different. If I wanted the word jealous to be the same length as this, it is going to stand out. Well, it's going to be taller than the word incredible. Well, let me bring this in some. So now it's technically the same size. And then your font also makes a difference. You're going to have some fonts that are really, really thick, chunky fonts. You're going to have some fonts that are really, really thin fonts. You're going to have some that are shorter, some that are taller. All of those things play a part. And if it is a specific font that you want, you have to design it based off of that font and those words and how much space. There is no right or wrong in how it's set up. I've seen shirts that literally have something like it's small, and that was the look that they were going for, right? There's no right or wrong to have that word small right at the top. If you're putting it in the center, depending on the significance of the design and what message you're trying to convey, that might be all you need, right? Maybe you want it to be small down here in the corner. There is no exact size. So yeah, you're still telling me, okay, a medium sweatshirt senior in that font. That's up to you. How significant do you want it to stand out? I mean, do you want it to max? So for me, like I said, I max out to here, right? Kind of like center of the shoulders. And you would have to measure your shirt to know the exact size. Like on here, I'm not going to really show, it's not going to really show the exact size. You just have to, you just have to size it up. And it's just going like that font is just going to take up, you're going to just size it from right to left. And whatever that is what it is. Now, if your eyes, you're like, but I want it to come down more. Well, you're going to stretch it disproportionately. Some fonts, it can be okay. Others, you'll be able to tell that it's really, really stretched. So that is just up to you in the overall look that you're going for or that your client wants. Like if they're saying that, hey, I want it to cover as much of the shirt as possible, you may have to just choose a different font than what you maybe gave them as the initial mock-up. If they say that's too small, I want it to stand out more, you may have to either go in and choose a different font or see if they want it stretched out. So see, this one, you stretch it out too much, you can't really read it. If I stretched it to like there, not so bad, but it definitely reads differently than if you had it like this. Now that it's not stretched, you can really see all of the letters. Like this, you can't see any of the letters. It gets a little bit better in here, but not when it's like this. It doesn't matter if you're doing vinyl. It doesn't. That's the thing, guys. When it comes to designing, it doesn't matter if you're using vinyl, if you're using sublimation, if you're using DTF, if you're using white toner, if you're using screen print, if you're using Jet Pro 3G, printable transfers. It does not matter what method. The design is the design. Those are just print methods and ways to apply it to the shirt. It doesn't matter which one of those it is, it's still going to look the same way size wise. What's important, and this is the part that, it's, when I'm going through these types of discussions and breakdowns, is to get you guys to understand just designing and what is your end, like what do you want the end result to be? How do you want it to look? And if it is something where they want a font that's going to take up a great deal of the shirt, then you can't use this one because once stretched out, it's not going to be legible. Or it might be to where you have to not have as many text effects on it. Because if we ungroup this and take away this, take away, I could probably even leave the white, but I'm just going to just change this out for now. I'm going to ungroup. I can maybe give this a little bit more space to where now it's a little bit more legible. And we're just going to group it, add the offset to it. Wow. So that's a little bit different than the other. Like you can, now that there's not all these offsets on it, you can still read the letters. With the black behind it, you may not be able to read it as well with it stretched like that. It's all about just understanding design concepts, the composition, the layout. What is your end result? I keep telling the customer the font she picked cannot be stretched. Yep. Hey, and if they don't understand that, walk away from it. Like it's okay to walk away from the customer. If you have to refund them part of their design fee because they just don't get it, or if they are just adamant, like if you stretch it and they are okay with it being stretched, that's one of those, you may not like it, but if it's not something that's just like god awful, hey, give them what they want, but make sure that you have them do a disclaimer. There's different ways that you can word it so that if somebody else comes in and say, oh my god, that looked crazy, hey, they're the ones that designed it, so they can't come back and say, oh, I don't like this, I want a refund. So you want to make sure that you have your terms and conditions, and if they're going against what you are recommending as far as font selection, It's in writing. This is what you chose. It is final. There's no refund. There's no nothing when it comes to that. And just have that in writing so that if they try and do a chargeback or whatever, you can submit that is what they requested it. Stretching doesn't necessarily make it difficult to weed. Especially a font like this, it definitely won't make it difficult to weed because it's still a pretty thick or chunky font. It just depends on the font that you are using. Now, I'm not sure because it just says Facebook user. So if you're talking about a stemmed glass, now that's something that's a smaller surface. So anything, that's going to thin something out can make it difficult to weed. But in this video, as far as shirts, not necessarily. But yes, if you're talking about, if that's the same person, if it's for a glass and you're stretching it and you are thinning it out, it's also going to compromise the strength and of the vinyl, because the thinner it is, the less area it has to grip on. So that's something that you have to kind of communicate with your customer. But hopefully this helped you guys understand a little bit more about placement, and encourages you guys to play around with your designs. Once you get it on there and you've selected your font, you've selected your colors, don't let it stop there. When you have some downtime, like let's say if that was for an order, go back in there, rearrange it, play around with it. Of course, you may not be able to change that order, but it will spark your creativity and give you some ideas for the next time that you have to create something like that or similar. Especially when it comes to birthday design, like things that you're doing all the time, birthday or baby showers and stuff like that. You can not have to reinvent the wheel, but have it look a little bit different from client to client. All right. So if you guys are interested in signing up for our Foundation of Designing program, it is 7 weeks. We meet for that one. We meet every 2 weeks. One, it's just my schedule. The Photoshop Essentials is every week for 8 weeks, and that ends in March. But this one kind of spreads out a little bit, gives you guys a little bit more time with the professor, because we will have, like I said, some bonus sessions, and it allows you guys to kind of ask questions in between and me really help you hone in on your design skills over 3 months, versus just kind of compacting it into like basically 10 days back to back, or even doing it over 7 weeks. So get you a little bit more time to kind of, get seasoned in your designing. But the Photoshop one does meet every single week for 8 weeks. They're not the same. Foundation of Designing will teach you about designing. It is not created to teach you the tools, the breakdown of the tools and functions. Please understand that those are two different things. If you struggle with understanding the tools, where to find them, understanding what their general functions are, I recommend that you sign up for the Photoshop Essentials. That is currently going on live as well every Wednesday up until the end of March. If you want to learn Silhouette Studio for designing, I recommend Essentials to Silhouette Studio. That is actually 30 days, because y'all know that's my baby. Like Photoshop, I mean, I couldn't do 30 days ever again. So I'm just making sure that I try and get as much of it in the Photoshop Essentials as possible. But the Essentials Studio, baby, I broke that thing down for 30 days. And it's still an amazing, amazing, amazing price of $83.65 for 30 days. And I want to say it's like really 33 sessions, because we had some double sessions on some days, evening session and the daytime session. So I want to say it's like 33, 34 sessions in total for that particular training for Silhouette Studio. And that's going to break down all of the tools. Designing, we're just doing designing for you to understand concepts, layouts, font selections, understanding how to put pictures in things and arrange those and lay them out where it just looks good visually and eye-catching. Foundations of Design, Photoshop are live right now. This one, you're watching the playbacks of the live broadcast, okay? And then, of course, if you're into business and you want to get the business side under wraps, all of the admin and logistics side, we do have our creative business. That's also a 3-month program. All right. Any questions for me before I hop off of here? I have now, an hour and a half before class starts, and I need to eat. Any questions for me as it relates to designing and the two softwares, whether it is Silhouette Studio or Photoshop? So remember, Photoshop, if you're just joining, if you want to design in that, in the foundation of designing, we actually utilize both softwares because, as I said, the foundation of designing is the same as far as composition, layout, sizing. That's all the same. It doesn't matter which program you design in, but there are going to be some things that are going to be a little bit easier to do in Silhouette Studio versus Photoshop, and vice versa. Easier to do in Photoshop, and functions that Photoshop has that Silhouette just simply does not have. And, they just can't support those types of functions like blend modes and layer styles that allow you to change things and still kind of have it without having to recreate those styles every single time. So for Photoshop, all you would need is the $9.99 per month subscription over at Adobe. And Silhouette Studio, you go to Silhouette America. I recommend the 4.3.370 version and download the 32-bit if you have a Windows system. And you just need the free version. Like everything that we're going to, pretty much everything that we're going to do, you'll be able to do in the free version. Okay. That is broken down in day. I want you to, make sure you guys are writing notes, but that is broken down on day, because I know you're in this one, day 4. Because when we go through the page setup and registration marks, we talk about, and it might also be in preferences, but we talk about something that is, that it's causing that. I'm going to give you a little hint. It's over here. And when you go to grid settings, there's something over here. So go back and review that one, or think about what we talked about during that session, and you will identify what that issue is while you're having that, okay? While you're having that issue. But yeah, we definitely talked about that. Actually kind of spent a little bit of time on that one because that is a common question. Hello, Sunshine, but that's in the group. I wonder if that's Jamila. All right, no questions for me. All right, guys, I shall talk to you guys later. Until next time. Oh, wait, I showed you a hint. I know you'll go back and see, but I gave you a hint, and I was hoping you would figure it out just by me going to that page to know what it was that was causing it to jump. If anybody else knows, let's see if someone in the audience can help you. If not, you got to go back and watch. But let's see anyone that's been paying attention, because I've also mentioned it in several live videos. What is it that's causing her elements to jump around? Let's see if anyone else can help us out with that one, can help Sandra out with what she has to do to keep that from happening. Aha. I'm going to wait before I put it on the screen. Oh, wait, what's happening here? Okay, I don't know what's going on over here. No one? But yes, she finally remembered. Yes, it is your snap to grid. All right, y'all, I am out of here. Hopefully I will see some of you guys in class tonight. Until next time, have a great one. Continue to unlock your creativity and be incredible. Oh, one more thing. because I didn't go. So on here, if you sign up from the shop site, you can do the one-time payment, or you can use Zelle. Like if you prefer to use Zelle, you can use that. It is more because of the fees and stuff associated with it. However, if you would like to break it up weekly and pay that weekly, you can click here, and it's going to take you over to, I got scared because I thought I was going to go to the back end of my my site, but you can go here, and well, I'm logged in, so it says resume, but here you can do it where you're paying weekly. And it says onwards, but it's for 11 weeks. It'll end up, well, 12 weeks, 11 weeks of payments, because you have the 12 week when you first sign up. So it is that way. Now, the weekly payments will be, if you're signing up while we are live, after this week, you're going to have the 2 weeks inside your initial first payment. Then you'll have 10 payments. The week after that, you'll have the 3. And then, so that's how it will be broken up, because you will have access to all of those playbacks. All right. So if you want to pay for it weekly, because that's a little bit more manageable for you, then when you're on this page, just click where it says click here, and it will take you over to here to sign up for it and pay for it. A smaller initial payment, and then your weekly payments. All right. All right, y'all. Until next time. Peace.